Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get our webinar started. First of all, let me thank you for attending our very first employer webinar. And as I say, the first, it's going to be a first of many different efforts that we are putting together as far as our employers are concerned. A lot of this have come from a lot of the surveys that you've done, that you've responded to us, and you told us that you wanted more of training. And the way that we look at this is it's more training and engagement. We are moving away from being more of a transactional process, that we want to be more engaged with you to give you some training opportunities. This will not be the last process that we're doing. I can tell you, if many of you came to our employer seminar last year, we are doing another employer seminar at the Government Center here in Indianapolis on the 25th of September. So more of that information to come. Just to let you know, we have 2 hours of a lot of information. There's going to be some live tutorials that's going to be done. We have someone that's managing our chat feature. And just to let you know that this is being recorded, and it's going to be placed out there on our YouTube channel for you to go back and you can reference, or you can talk to some of your coworkers that if they want to look at this at some time of their leisure, then they are very well to do so. So let's go back to the chat feature. We are going to try and answer as many questions as we possibly can. One of the things that I am going to ask of you is, as you put a question out there, if you don't mind adding your email address, just in case we don't get a chance to answer that particular question, then what we can do is reach out to you and we can have more of a conversation that is specific to your unit and or your needs. So I'm going to turn it over. Well, let me say this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Floyd Teamer, and I'm the Employer Engagement Manager here at INPRS. So there are a few people that's in the room with me today that you will be seeing. One is Katie Luzader, and Katie is our quality coach. And really part of her job is to make sure that the advocates that interact with you every day, that they are doing that 100% as efficiently as we possibly can. Then we have Alicia Frank, which Alicia is the employer advocate supervisor. And then James Gray is the manager of the entire department. So I am going to roll that out to them. We can go ahead and we can get the process started. But again, I just wanted to thank you for your time this morning, because I do understand how important your day is, as well as the important work that you have to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Alicia, and we can go ahead and we can get this started.
Good morning. Thank you, Floyd. Today we are going to go over we've already done the introduction. We are going to go over enrollments for perf and turf, reporting adjustments, severance reporting, and then any questions that you may have. So I'm going to start off with perf enrollment questions. When you have somebody that is new to your unit, there are some questions you want to think about. One, is this person being hired into a covered position that your employer's governing body passed in their resolution? The answer is yes, then they need to be enrolled. And in order to be a covered position, that position must perform services at least 1,000 hours. And if you're a school, that position requires at least 600 hours. So as long as, again, it's part of your resolution, that member is eligible for perf, and starting the first day they worked needs to be enrolled into ERM. There are some positions that are not eligible, and as you'll see at the last bullet point, IC code 5-10.3-7 will list those positions that are excluded. Next, you have your turf enrollment. Is the employee going to be a teacher? The definition of teacher is defined in 35 IAC 14-1-28. Does the employee hold a teaching license that is accepted by the State Board of Education? And is the license current? Note, if a member's license expires, he or she at that point is no longer eligible to be a TURF member until that new license is issued. But if you answered yes to all three of those questions above, then the member is eligible for TURF, and starting the first day they worked, they need to be enrolled in ERM. What about substitute enrollment? Well, has the substitute teacher completed all of the following? Has that person have an approved license by the Indiana State Board of Education? Have they obtained at least associate's degree? And have they completed their first year of teaching 120 days in a fiscal year, which is from July 1st to June 30th of that following year, or at least 60 days in 2 fiscal years? Note that when it comes to substitute teaching and making sure that all of this is met, especially that first year, it is the member's responsibility to keep track of that and letting you know that they have met the requirements and need to be enrolled and eligible for TURF. Once you've been notified, then it will be your responsibility to make sure that the account of that member gets enrolled into ERM. But as long as you've answered yes to the bullet points above, then that substitute person is eligible for TURF and needs to be enrolled into ERM. So I'm going to walk through what it looks like on how to enroll someone in ERM. So once you get logged into ERM, on the left-hand side, you're going to click the arrow by member, and you're going to click on Enroll New Member. Your unit will pop up. You'll click the unit that you need to be on and click Next. It will then ask for your the member's social security number. You'll enter it in and then re-enter it in, and you're going to want to enter it in without any dashes. If you have a member who has been in our system before, then this message is going to pop up. Don't worry, it is just asking, hey, they recognize the social security number. Can you please confirm this is the member you're referencing? As long as that is, you'll click Next. It will go on to the next question, which is this person going to be in an intermittent position? What does intermittent mean? Well, is there going to be a time to where there's going to be a gap that will naturally happen between reporting due to breaks or maybe limited hours throughout the month? If the answer is yes, then you'll want to click yes. And all that does is it lets the system know that when you're reporting them, there could be breaks in between. And if there are breaks, then it avoids getting that N90 gap. But if the answer is no, then click no and click Next afterwards. Remember when I talked about that covered position? This will be the screen to where it will list the covered positions that is available for your unit. And it's going to ask, is this member in a covered position? If you answer no to that question, then you cannot move forward. So if you do look at this position or list and see that the position that this member is going to be enrolled in, and you don't see it, then give us a call. We're happy to help and walk you through and finish that enrollment if need to be. But as long as this answer is yes, then you move to the next one, which is this member in an elected position? If it's no, that is fine. You're able to click no and move to next. But if it is, if they are going to be an elected official position, and you click yes, then we do have a list over here that will provide those positions. In order for elected official to be in a covered position, that does need to be stated on your resolution. So as long as your unit has identified that these positions are covered by your unit, then you'll click whichever position that this member will be part of, and then you'll click next. This screenshot here just also shows before you enroll someone. If you go to the Manage Submission Unit tab of ERM and click on the Hybrid tab, you will see that we have a box that says all positions covered. If your unit has identified that all positions are eligible, then you'll see that check marked, or you'll see underneath the covered position title. This is where we'll have the specific list of positions that are eligible for PERF. When you get to this page, you've identified which position, and now we need to understand the demographics. You have your hire date. So when is that person going to be starting? And remember that they're eligible from that first day. You also have the member demographics, so the first name, last name, their date of birth, gender, and marital status. And then you also have an email address. We would prefer, when putting in an email address, to make sure it is the member's personal email address. The reason why is that we do send out communication to them, and if they were to ever leave your unit, then we're still able to be in contact with them, versus if we put a work email address, they leave, then they lose that access. So it is best to make sure we put in that personal email. Then we have the member's address and telephone number as well. The member demographic, address, and phone number, if you enter this in, or if you are enrolling someone who has been in our system before, and if any of this information needs to be changed, that member does need to contact BOIA to get this taken care of. You will unfortunately not be able to make edits on this section. The next section that it will go to is the plan election. If your unit offers both hybrid and my choice, then both options will be available. And you'll also see down here that there is a option that says no election at this time. And if you are a unit that offers both, it is best practice to choose the no election at this time. Because by clicking this, it allows us to get information to the member, and the member to really look over the information and be able to make their election on their page. So once you fill in all of this information, you'll click next. If you have somebody that has been in our system before, this message again will pop up, and it will just ask you, are you sure this is the person who you want to enroll? To continue on, you just hit continue. Again, this will only pop up if the person has been in our system before. But if not, then everything will look like this screen here. So this is your last chance to kind of review before truly putting in that submission. Or if fully enrolling. So as long as everything looks okay, then you'll click next, and then you'll receive a note that will say enrolled successfully, pension ID, and you'll be able to report. Now we're going to switch over to do a live demo on enrollments.
Right. So as Floyd said earlier, my name is Katie Luzader. I'm the quality coach for the EA team. So I'm going to go through ERM as if it were you, the employer, going in and doing some enrollments this morning. So to, obviously keep our members safe here, we've got a couple of just kind of, fictional units, just that way we keep everybody's info safe. So first, I'm going to go through here and show you a perf new enrollment, and then we're going to do a perf enrollment of someone that's been in the system before. So like Alicia said, you get those pop-ups. So I want you to be able to see what those look like. And then we will go through a new TERP enrollment, as well as a TERP enrollment for someone that has been in the system before. So we'll go through quite a few enrollments here, but again, just want to show you what they look like live. Now, before we do that, Alicia had talked about, especially for perf, how to see the covered position titles. So just want to show you really quick where that is. That way, if you ever have questions of, hey, we've got someone coming in this position, is it covered? You know where you can check that out pretty quickly in the system. So to do that, you would just click down on that caret next to employer, and then we're going to go to submission unit and manage submission unit. So here I've already got my perf unit pulled up. We're just going to go all the way over here and click on that hybrid tab. If you do happen to offer perf hybrid and perf my choice, you are going to see another tab right over here. It's just going to say my choice. So it will have both tabs, but for the sake of the demo here, we just have a hybrid only perf unit. So as Alicia said, we scroll down and we're going to be able to see our covered position title. So if this unit were to have a very specific list of covered positions, they would all be listed down here. It would be a scrollable, you can kind of, scroll, see all those positions listed out in one spot, and then you would be able to make your determination. If you have this little check mark right here on the bottom, all positions covered, again, it just means that all of your positions are eligible for perf according to your resolution and how you have things set up with us. With this, I know it can be tricky and kind of hard to see the covered positions if you have quite a few. So, you've got a ton of covered positions, but just not everyone. It can be tricky to scroll through and see them. So give us a call. We're more than happy to help you out, walk you through how you can see that. Or you could go over here to your employer reports, and you would just go to your subunit contribution details, and it should list it out here. So yeah, and if you have those positions, it will list it out here on the bottom. If not, take a look. It should list those for you. So just kind of getting that out of the way, we'll go through some enrollments now. So to get a new perf member added to your unit, you're going to click the drop down here next to member, and we're always going to click enroll new member. So regardless if you have someone that is a first-time INPRS member or someone that's been with us before, you're always going to click enroll new member. Basically, clicking enroll new member means we're going to start a new line of employment. So yeah, if you were to have someone that they were with you, they maybe went from a covered to non-covered position, they come back to a covered position, you're still going to come back here to enroll new member to start that second line. So first here, we're going to do a perf enrollment. So I'm going to make sure that I'm highlighted on my perf unit and click next. And then we are going to enter the social security number. So like Alicia said earlier, we don't want to include any dashes. So we just want to include the straight digits. And then we want to go down and we want to re-enter it. And click next. And then we get to our question here. Is this person an intermittent employee? So this person, they're going to be working in a covered position where we weren't going to expect any breaks, and we're going to be able to, have that continuous reporting. And then we're going to indicate if they're in a covered position. So here, my unit has all positions covered. We are considering them to be a covered position. And no, they're not an elected official. At the very top here, we're going to enter in the date of hire. And then we'll go through here with our members' information. And then once we have our information here, we'll get down to our phone number. Now for the phone number, you do want to put a straight 10 digits, no dashes here, or it will not accept it. So again, we're just going to take a look at all of the information that we entered. We're going to make sure everything looks good and click submit. Right. After we click submit, if you scroll up to the top of the page, you should have that member enrollment confirmation. At the very end here, it is going to give you your pension ID number. Your pension ID number, obviously you're going to need that for reporting. And then if you were to, let's say, want to take a screenshot of this, go right on ahead. This is your one opportunity to do that. Or, if you're building your file, you're getting ready to report, and you forgot to jot this number down, you can actually find it in modified member. So you still are able to go over here to modified member. You can put in their social security number. And you would be able to see that pension ID right here too. So just so you know, you're still able to pull that information and pull that, that number if you happen to click off the screen too quickly, or you forget where you put it before doing your first bit of reporting. Right, so that was a PERF member that's never been in the system before. So we've got another member now to enroll in our PERF unit. So we're just going to go straight back here to enroll new member. I'm on my PERF. I'm going to click next. And now we're going to do someone that, maybe they were with another unit and they came to us. So we're going to enter their social security number in here twice. And click next. Now, when we do this, as you can see, this member, they have been in with an INPRS fund before. So regardless if a member's been in PERF, TERF, 77, any other unit, if they've ever been enrolled into ERM or with one of our funds, this will pop up. Again, doesn't mean that you have enrolled them into your unit. It means that they've been enrolled into an INPRS fund previously. So as it says here, just go ahead and click next to continue, and enrollment will continue as if it were a new enrollment, or in this case, a new line of employment. This can also happen, just so you're aware, if someone has a common last name. If we have multiple people that have been in our system with the similar last name or date of birth, it will sometimes throw this message as well. So typically it just happens if they've ever been with us, but if, say, they have a last name of Smith, Johnson, Williams, and they have the same birth date as someone else, it can sometimes trigger this too. So then we just go right on to those same questions. Yes, they're in a covered position. And if you see here, I was going too fast. If I click next, it's still going to make you come back here and say, no, we're not an elected official. Now, if we were to say yes, I just want to show you what those pop-ups look like. It's going to have you go ahead and select which type of elected official they are. It is important that you do elect what they went in as an elected official, if at all possible, because if you do this, any elected official not listed above, it is a bit harder for us to be able to track someone for vesting purposes. There are positions that they vest in a different time frame as an elected official than others. So you will want to make sure you are clicking what their actual elected official type is. That way, down the road, it's going to help you, but also help that member to see their vesting appropriately. And then if you go back to no, just so you know, it'll take that drop down away. All right, so here, as you can see, we've got quite a bit of information pre-populated. So all I need to do here for this member would be to put in their date of hire. I can go ahead and update their first and last name. So let's say you do have someone that they have recently gotten married, or they've had a change of name between their last employment and now. You can change that information. You just aren't able to change the address or phone number. Again, if there's changes to those, you would want to ask the member to call in to Voya, our record keeper. So call the member advocate line, and they will be able to help them get that changed. Great. So again, we've got all of our information here. Looks great. We're just going to click submit. And we have our pension ID again. And then this pension ID number is actually the same pension ID number that the member would have had at a, say, other employer, another unit. A pension ID number is almost like having a second social security number. So we just want to make sure that we've got one pension ID per social security number. So if someone were to work in another unit and come to you and they say, hey, I already know my pension ID, this should match so long as everything got put in correctly. We have 2 more enrollments. We'll do for turf now, so you can see what those questions look like. So as you can see, I just clicked down here to make sure that my turf unit is in kind of that bluish gray color and click next. And again, very similar to perf, we're going to enter in our social security number. We're going to enter it in twice. Click next. And now we're going to get to the questions that are more specific for turf. So is this person a part-time or substitute? This is going to be a full-time new teacher coming in. So we're going to click no. And now we're going to go through here and enter all that same information. So with turf, just remember that our hire date, we do want that to fall within the first reporting. So if you have your teacher coming in to do maybe some training days, whatever, if you have wages tied to it, use that date. If not, then you would want to make sure that your date of hire is where like your first day of school is. So I know we do get quite a few requests for data hire changes beginning of the school year. It happens. It's not necessarily going to be the date that your board approved them to work for your district. It's going to be that first day working. So in this case, let's say that the member came in and did some training. They did something for the district firsthand. So feel pretty comfortable doing July 7th. Now I know obviously this is in the next month or so. You can enter in those enrollments ahead of time too. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to do all those enrollments when we go to report our first payroll for the school year. You can do some things a little bit ahead of time just to make it easier. And if you've noticed on PERF, the asterisk was not here. On TURF, it does require you to put an email. Again, like we talked about earlier, we want to make sure that this is someone's personal email address. So, I know it's really, really tempting, especially to just go ahead and put in your school district's email address for that new teacher. Please don't. Please do your best to get their actual personal email address. It's going to help us and help the member down the road. Make sure that we have that correct data for them. Right now, super important for your new teachers. If somebody is coming into the TURF fund for the first time, so this doesn't mean that someone was maybe a para, they were with your PERF unit, and now they're coming to TURF. They would have, say, a choice coming into the new fund. With that, you would just want to make sure to give that teacher the opportunity to make their plan election. In order for our systems to generate and send them the new member information, send them their, hey, you've been enrolled, here's your packet and your information to get logged into your personal Voya account, we're going to need that no election at this time. We definitely want to make sure that we are giving individuals time to make their election. So, make sure we're doing our elections timely. That way they've got enough time to go in, as there is a typically like a 7 to 10 day delay from what I can tell to that person getting their information. So mail, we know it can run slow sometimes. We want to get them enrolled. We want them to get their opportunities to go onto their My Voya page to make their plan election. Now, if when you're hiring someone, they are very dead set, this is what I want to be in, you can select these, but just understand that is an irrevocable decision. We know things happen. We get clicking too fast. There are instances, something might happen. Give us a call. Our employer advocate team can help you with that, seeing what we can do to do any correction. But the best practice is just to click no election at this time. Okay, so here you'll see we've got the information. We just want to confirm everything looks good. Super important, no election at this time. And that does give you that information to know if they do not make their plan election within 60 days of their hire date, the member will default to TURF hybrid. You definitely want to see this. So if you see something else here, it means more than likely you've either selected something for them. It will give you a message saying, hey, this is an irrevocable decision. So it will be there before you click submit, or you would see what they've elected previously, maybe when employed with another school district. So just like all of our other enrollments, we now have another pension ID. Then last enrollment here, I just want to show you what it looks like when somebody has been with TURF before, so you can see the differences at the bottom there for the plan election. So we've got our pop-up. We understand this person has been in TURF before. We're also going to go ahead and get the notification that this person is not a pre-96 member. So definitely take note of that here during your enrollment to help you out with your reporting. For here, let's say that she's coming to you as a substitute. So we're going to mark yes. And then we do have those 3 questions to respond yes to. So yes, she has her associate's degree. Yes, she has an active license. And she has met the requirement of the days. So now we're just going to go in here. We're going to give her a hire date. Nothing has changed name-wise. We have our information. And then towards the bottom, you have, due to this member's prior plan election and plan participation, the member is being automatically enrolled in TURF Hybrid. So in this instance, you're not even given an opportunity to click anything because they've already been in TURF. That plan election stays with them. Then we've just got all that same information here. And submit. And then we just have our last pension ID here. So those are our enrollments. So I will turn it back over to Alicia, and we're going to go through our next kind of bit of information.
Thank you, Katie. So gonna just kind of touch on some important things you'll want to remember through enrollments. Katie did a great job going through those. So again, if your unit is offering both plans, hybrid and my choice, it is extremely important to enroll those new hires immediately and inform them that they've got 60 days to make that election. This is just extremely important because, as Katie mentioned, once an election is made, it is irrevocable. So please get those in timely because so that way they have the 60 days. And keep in mind that the 60 days starts at the hire date. So if you wait and enter it in, then you're giving the less time for that member to make an election. So it's extremely important to get it in right at their hire date, their first day, to give them all the time that they need to make that election. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is when you're entering in the Social Security number, sometimes we don't realize that we maybe transposed a number and we'll want to fix it. Please don't. Go ahead and, if you've enrolled and you've got that pension ID, go ahead and give us a call. Contact us, say, hey, accidentally wrote or put in the wrong Social Security number. How can we get this correct? And my team can help you. One thing you can go ahead and do is call us, or you can also send us a copy of the member Social Security card, I-9 form, or driver's license. Please only do this via fax mail, or deliver in person if you want to come downtown. If you do any of those options, please provide the case number to ensure that we can get this to the right processor to get that Social Security number changed. You will continue to report the member's wages and contributions on that incorrect Social Security number until the employer advocate team has notified you that this has been fixed through a data fix. Everything will get, don't worry about information not being in the right place. It will. Once we fix everything, it will be under the correct account. Once they let you know, then you're able to make changes on your side and continue reporting as though it never happened. But keep in mind that that Social Security number correction process can take up to 3 weeks to be completed. Next is the definition of compensation. Here I've provided you the code in exact words. I'm not going to read through all of this, but the biggest key that we really want everyone to take from this is that what do you need to report to us? If it is going to be on this person's W-2, it needs to be reported to us. Along with when it comes time for vacation pay, sick pay, those PTO, those wages, those amounts are needing to be reported as severance, and we'll go through that later on. But outside of that, everything that's going to be on the W-2 needs to be reported to us. Of course, if you have any questions about what you're about to report or so forth, give my team a call. That's what we're here for. So we're going to go into wage and contribution adjustments. So what types do you use and when? So we do offer 3 different types. The first type is by member for adjustment to previously submitted information. This is when wage and contribution has been reported for a member and needs to be corrected. So say you maybe over-reported, under-reported, or accidentally reported wages and severance together and we need to break that out, then that would be the report you're going to want to do. Now, if you are not going to do this through ERM as far as a manual online adjustment and you're going to add this to your file upload, that is completely fine. Just make sure on your file upload, the column record type has an A, so the system knows that is actually an adjustment and not a regular wage and contribution. The next adjustment that you're able to do is miss wage and contribution. So that is when wages have not been reported for a member or members for a particular period of time, and there's a gap. So we really need to do an adjustment to clear the gap and make sure reporting is caught up. Again, you have the option to do a manual adjustment, or you can use the file upload and just make sure on the record type you label M so the system knows that this is a missing wage and contribution adjustment. If you have an adjustment that is really needs to be completed and corrected for multiple members on a single paid submission report for your unit, we do have the option for by report. That will be your best because all those members you need to make that adjustment for will be listed there and you don't have to go through and do those individually. So you'll choose that option. You will update the wages and service days if you're making changes for teachers, and it will be for that single paid report in ERM. This can unfortunately only be completed as a manual online adjustment and not a file upload. So now Katie's going to go through and demo contribution adjustments for you all.
All right, so like Alicia said, I'm gonna go through those adjustment types that she just talked about. I know adjustments, they can be hard, they can be intimidating. They are probably one of our more common calls that we get with our advocate team. We are always here to help, but just want you to feel more comfortable with entering those in, because I know we like to be able to do things on our own. And so just want to go through those so you can see a couple of kind of common scenarios, but we are going to do some by member for previously submitted. I've got a couple missed wage and contributions to show you, as well as by report. So we'll go through those three in terms of how to do an online adjustment. Like it was said, you can do a by member for previously submitted adjustment or a missed wage and contribution adjustment through your file upload. Just make sure that you get those, the rows coded correctly. That way it'll go through. When you do your file upload, if you have regular wages and some adjustments to make, when your single file gets uploaded, don't be alarmed. In your validated submission reports, you will have one regular report and then you'll have an adjustment report. So the system will go ahead and break those two out. So when you go to make your payments, you'll have one payment for your regular wage and contributions, and then the adjustments are going to be on a separate payment. So if you have multiple things in that same file, perfectly fine to do when you do your file upload for submissions. It is just going to break it into the two different reports when you go to process your submission reports for payment. Okay, so first here, we're going to do an adjustment to a PERF member. So we're going to do the drop down next to wage and contribution. We're going to go right over here to online adjustments. Now, the scenario I have here is a PERF member. We have already reported regular wages. And then let's say that you cut a second check to pay out their severance. You want to still get that applied on the same period of time, the same payroll period dates. The system is just going to let you know, you can only have one series of information for that pay period. So this is how we're going to be able to apply that severance payout to an already reported payroll. So I've got my perf highlighted. I'm going to click next. Now it's going to ask you for a payroll date. This payroll date can really be whatever you choose. So if it works better for your bookkeeping purposes to have it be the date that you're going in and truly adjusting the wages to, go right on ahead. If you want it to be today's date because of how the bank statements are or whatnot, you want to have those dates match. Perfectly fine. Just whatever you are comfortable with, put that date in here. So let's say for my bookkeeping purposes, I want to use the actual payroll date that it was on. So I'm going to use my 5/30/25. And now I'm going to go in here and click my adjustment type. So like I said, it's for one member. We want to add severance onto a payroll. So I'm going to click by member adjustment for previously submitted information. I know a lot of times we want to click missed wage and contribution because, well, I missed reporting it, but there's already something for that period of time. So we're going to click the by member for adjustment to previously submitted information and click next. And now we're going to go in and select our member. So here in our testing, I have a smaller unit, so I can absolutely just go in here, click on my person. If you were to say have a larger unit, like most of us do, you can put in the last name and last four of the social security number of your member, or the full social security number, or the pension ID. You will need leading zeros for it to populate. No dashes in the social security number. but you only want to put information in one of these sections before clicking search. If you were to do kind of a combination and you click search, no one's going to populate. So here I've got my member selected. You'll see down here selected member with the person's name. If I click around here, you'll see how that name's going to change, but we're going to do it right here. Before we can click create adjustment report, we have to put in the payroll date. We want to be able to pull that payroll date that we need for the member. We do need a date range. This is not your pay periods. This is the date range of the actual payroll date. So not the pay period dates, the payroll date. So with this being a 5/30 payroll, I do always suggest that we kind of go a couple weeks before and a couple weeks after, just to be able to have a wide enough range. So I could even go from the 1st of May through today's date. As soon as you click anywhere on the screen after putting that second date in, your create adjustment report populates. Now, as you can see, I put in kind of a large range of dates. I'm going to have all of those that fall within there populate. So I want to do my 5/30 of 25 payroll. So I'm going to find it. So just this top one here, and I'm going to click add. As soon as we click add, we have this pop up. So this is where we're actually going to go in and put the values in. Now, they did have $2,000 in regular wages paid to them for this period of time. We don't want to do anything to these regular wages. We just strictly want to add on our severance. With doing that, I know, again, it's intimidating. There's a lot of boxes here. We don't need to use them all. All we need to use is our severance wages. So let's say Ms. Summers had a $10,000 payout. We'll add that $10,000. We need to add our mandatory contributions, which here you can see we've got mandatory pre-tax. If there's ever a question of, ooh, do I put pre-tax or post-tax? Look at the bottom. You'll be able to see how your unit reports that individual. You can kind of highlight, I need to do mandatory pre-tax, severance mandatory pre-tax, put my values in, and then severance employer contribution share. Now, with severance, you can report the mandatory contributions on the full amount. You could also do it on just the first $2,000 of your severance wage. But when it comes to the employer contribution share, there is a cap on the first $2,000. So down here, regardless of what my value is, it's over $2,000. I'm only going to be able to put in 11.2% of 2,000. So my unit, we pay the full amount of mandatory contributions, but again, we're only allowed to do on the first 2,000 of the severance for the employer share. If your unit only does like the first 2,000 on the mandatory, you could put 60 here. That's perfectly fine. So our two options are going to be either 300 for the full amount or 60. Those are the only two values that it's going to accept. Now at the bottom here, I always like to take a look at this before clicking add adjustment. So we had the current value or what was previously reported. We've got our adjustment value, so what we're putting in today. New value is what it would have looked like if we had went ahead and put everything in at the same time. So if everything looks good under new value and we're happy with it, we're going to go ahead and click add adjustment. There aren't any other payrolls that I need to add anything to, so I'm going to go ahead and click validate. So now we've got confirmation, it's validated, it's been sent over to our submission reports. So we go to submission reports, we pull up our perf unit, and as you'll see here, it still says it's validating. It does take the system a few seconds here, depending on how large the file is or how quickly you got over there. It might not be done yet. All you need to do is click back, click next, and now it's validated. So sometimes it just takes a little bit for it to show, but then from here, you'd be able to go to view, and you'd be able to process your payment and add in like normal. My next example here of an adjustment for previously submitted is for a TURF member. So I'm going to go back to online adjustment. I'm going to click on my TURF unit, click next. And again, we add in our payroll date. So this can be really whatever payroll date we need it to be. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and say today's date, perfectly fine. I'm going to do by member for previously submitted, because on the member I need to work on, let's say they were out sick, I need to take off some service credit days. So here I've already got my member selected. I'm going to go to today's date, create adjustment report, and now we've got our values in here. Now on this member, they have had adjustments done before. You're going to be able to see here where it says prior adjustments. All that means when it has the yes there is that you've completed and processed for payment some other form of adjustment on this member's account before. So you would just see what was originally reported and then what the previous adjustment was here. So let's say, it's not the 5.2 that I needed to adjust. I needed to fix the 6.2. We'll click add. And then for here, the wages were fine. We just need to update the service days. So for whatever reason, I accidentally reported 10 when really I should have reported 5. I need to take those days off. To take the days off, all you're going to do is do a -5. And then if we look over here, we've got our adjustment value, -5 for service days. And in our new value, this is what I wanted it to look like from the get-go. So first time around, this is what I meant to report. Now I've got the 5 there. This is all I needed to do. Now let's say for some reason you accidentally click save. Online adjustment has been saved. If you go over to your submission reports, you try to process for payment. As you can see, my process for payment button, it's not here. Why? Because we have our report status and saved. We need to get it to validate. In order to get that in a validated status, it's a really, really simple fix, I promise. All we're going to do is go to online adjustment. We're going to click on our TURF unit again. And as you can see, it says there was a previous report saved. So have no fear. If you save it, you can come back and fix and pick right back up where you were. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I saved it. I've lost everything. I have to go in and re-enter. The only option for that payroll date is the payroll that you had put in to do the adjustment. So we're going to click next. And everything is here. So I've got my one member information. It's right down here. We're going to be able to pull from there and click validate. So then have no fear. We click next and now it's validated. Now I know it's a $0 balance. If we click view, we're still going to be able to process for payment to get those days to come off. So we still have to click process for payment. We still have to go through the motions for those dates to work. With that $0 due adjustment, you still have to enter in a bank account. And then you would just type the 0 and do submit for payment. And then because we went through the motions, we were able to submit it. It is going to now actually go in and take those days off. So congratulations, your payment's successful. Yeah, we didn't really make a payment, but we were successful at taking those days off for the member's account. So those are the two examples here of by member. Now we're going to go in and do a real quick missed wage and contribution adjustment. So we're going to go back to online adjustment. And this is going to be for a perf member. So it's already highlighted. And for this one, let's say it's someone that they're new and we've missed a couple of payrolls. You're going to be able to, again, put in whatever payroll date you want here. Again, whatever works for you and your bookkeeping purposes. But now, because there's nothing in the system for this member, we're going to click missed wage and contributions. For our payroll frequency, I've got 2 here. I'm going to just go ahead and use my bi-weekly. That's how I've got my numbers written out. You could click the annual, but we'll go over that in a little bit. This is all it's going to say. We put in that little bit of information. This is it. Don't worry. When we click this create adjustment report, now we're going to be able to add our member. So again, you can put in one of those sections of information before searching, or we're just going to go in, we're going to click on their name, the selected member, add selected, modify for our action, and now we're going to be able to put that information in. So I'm going to go ahead, put my first payrolls information in. I do need to have my pay period start and end dates. I'll need to have my wages and my contributions. And again, there's a lot of different values here. I'm only using 3. Now I have 2 payrolls that I need to do missed wage and contribution for this one person. You can absolutely go ahead and click validate now and process this for payment and then start a new adjustment and do it all over again. You could also go up here and click add members. We're going to add our member again, add selected, update required. Yes, this is the other transaction that I want to do. If I click modify, now I'm going to go in, I'm just going to add my next payroll. But doing it this way, when I go to validate and process for payment, I only have 1 payment to make. I'm not going to have 2 items to process for payment. Need to wait that 15-20 minutes between processing. Now, when I click process for payment, both payrolls are going to apply to that member's account in one swoop. Got everything in here, save. My update required, you will want to take a look at this. If you add multiple people on for different reasons or someone on multiple times, you want to make sure that the update required always says no. If you were to accidentally go in and you thought, oh, you know what, I think I have 3, I'm going to add them again. As you can see, now I can't validate. Those update requireds have to say no. In order to get this to validate, because I actually only needed 2, all I'm going to do is click remove. Are you sure? Okay. Now I'm going to be able to get that to go through. So let me just kind of go back here. And it should say validate, but I guess today it doesn't want to. So let's save it and we'll show how to access that saved adjustment again. So it's okay. It happens. So here, previous report was saved. And now that validates back. So for whatever reason, we had a slight issue. We had to save it, but now we can go back and validate. And again, confirmation of that report validating, we'd be able to go over to our submission reports and make that payment. The last adjustment type here is by report. So we're going to go back to wage and contribution, online adjustment. And for this one, let's do perf first. So we'll click perf, click next. And let's say on my 5/2 payroll, everybody got some form of a bonus that I forgot to report. So again, we cut 2 checks, but this was for everyone or multiple people on that report. We want to be able to add those wages in. So we're going to go down here to by report. Now for this, you could type in the report number. So if you know the exact report number, you can type it in here. You could also put in a payroll date range to search to find it. You know, I've got everything here pretty close. So as long as it's selected, you click on it. As long as this report and the payroll date is what you want. If you notice as I click, it changes. We just click create adjustment report. Now I've got that whole report. So on this report, only had 2 members, and I need to add that money to their account. So we're going to add the wages. We're going to add those additional contributions, skip down, and add it on here. So as you can see, this is the exact same adjustment transaction box that populated when we did by member for previously submitted. Just in this case, we're going to be able to work on a couple members, but the boxes here essentially are the same. So when I look over here at my new value, yes, this is what I meant to report. I'm going to click add adjustment, move on to my next member, add those wages. Scroll down, add adjustment, and that's all I needed to do. So now I'm just going to click validate, and I'd be able to process for payment. So as you can see, I've got all these validated adjustments out here. With that, if I were to click view to process for payment, I can do that. I just need to select my account number, put the amount due, add, submit for payment. Now I've gone in, I've added quite a few adjustments. I've got my confirmation page here. And then, let's say, I want to go ahead and process those other 2 for payment. When we click on the next one we want to process for payment, don't be alarmed. If you've made a payment, remember how we talked about, you need to have that little bit of time between. If you have this open invoice error, that red writing, just wait 10, 15 minutes, come back in, it'll go away. You can process for payment. Just on the back end of things, we need to let the accounts catch up. And the last one here for our last adjustment, we're going to do a turf adjustment by report. So similar situation, I'm going to put in my payroll date. I'm going to go to by report. And for this one, it was our 5/15, so just going to click on it since I don't have a big long list here, and create adjustment report. Now on this, I have 2 different scenarios. So instead of doing 2 separate by member for previously submitted, I know that my issues on these 2 people were the same report. I'm going to click there on the by report. That way I can go ahead and just do them at the same time. So for this member, we had our regular wages, we had our FSP wages, reported, but we forgot to add the additional $1,000 that was paid for by the district and not our FSP. So I'm not going to touch anything down here with our FSP. I'm just strictly going to need to add wages, some additional mandatory, and then the employer share to cover those regular wages. And that's it. If you were to add anything else down here, so let's say you accidentally go in and you just type all the information like it would have been, I just want you to see here at the bottom what happens. So if I were to add additional FSP wages and contributions, just want you to see what it looks like here. So under new value, you would see where that's actually going to double now. We don't want to do that. All we wanted to do is just add that additional regular wage. So really easy, just back it out, click somewhere else on the screen. Now where I've got my new value, this is what I wanted it to look like the first time around. I'm going to click add adjustment. And then the other situation, I accidentally forgot to update my report. So I know this happens, especially beginning of the school year. Over the summer months, you're putting 0 for those service credit days. You go to do the first report, and we forget those days. So we want to make sure that this member has 10, just like everyone else. Maybe add 9 here, and we've got them back up to the new value of 10. So as you can see, 2 very different scenarios, but it was on the same report. Now I'm going to go over to validate. And I'd be able to process for payment. So I've got my validated adjustment, everything passed. I'm able to process for payment. So those are some examples here of those 3 different adjustment types, and just, hopefully very helpful here to get those in. So we are going to take a 5-minute break here. So we'll be back at 11:18. So get up, stretch. We've got a little bit more content to go through, and we'll see you back here in 5.
Alrighty, hopefully everyone enjoyed a quick break, was able to get up and stretch. It's a lot of information, we understand that we're going over. We were looking over at the chat. Hopefully we're answering all of your guys' questions. There was a question right before break that talked about severance, and so we're getting ready to actually go over that. If the information that we're going to go over doesn't answer your question, just let us know, and but hopefully it does. So we're go ahead and get started. Severance reporting. What is seen as severance wages to INPRS? Severance is when a member is paid a lump sum of accrued time off. So whether it be your vacation, sick, personal days, all of that information needs to be reported to us as severance. If you accidentally report that as regular wages, Katie did go over some adjustments that you can use, but she'll also be going through a demo about severance reporting as well. Also, too, I provided the code, the 35 IAC 1.2-5.5. This will explain to you a lot more in depth of what those severance wages would need to be reported to INPRS and what you need to include. Reminders of reporting severance, especially when Katie is going through the demo, is mandatory contributions. Mandatory contributions is still required to be paid on severance up to the first 2,000, or your unit may elect to either pay, or if the mandatory contribution is employee paid, they can elect to pay that full amount even if it's over the $2,000 limit. However, the only contribution that is limited is that employer share contribution. So that contribution as you're reporting severance can't be over 2,000 and will only be for the first 2,000. So the system will let you know if you put more than 2,000, what the contribution amount is. It will say, wait a minute, that is incorrect. So you will receive an error regards to that. I am going to provide just some little examples to show you as to what it looks like on an online entry. This is an example of a PERF hybrid member. So as you can see, you've got the wages up at the top, and then you've got your severance separated out. If you are a unit that uses file upload, we do have this broken out as well on the template, and you're able to put that information there so you don't feel like you have to include everything on the wage, then do an adjustment. You can break those out before you upload that to our system. And I'm going to bring it over to Katie, and she's going to show you some live demonstrations for severance.
So like Alicia said, gonna go over some severance adjustments. So I know we just did quite a bit of adjustments, but wanted to really break out severance adjustments from those, since they are something that I'm sure you've gotten an email or two about before. If somebody's final payroll, if it included severance or not. So when you get those emails, just know we're wanting to do our due diligence, make sure that our members are getting reported correctly, and we're able to separate out that severance when needed. So the first member here that I'm going to do a severance adjustment on is going to be PERF. So I'm going to make sure it's selected and click next. Just like every other adjustment, I can put in the exact payroll date that it was paid on, or I can put today's date. Perfectly fine to do. And then for this, it's just that single member. So we're going to click our by member for previously submitted information. And I'm going to go find my member. And then I'm going to go ahead, just put in a range of dates. Remember, as soon as I click somewhere, that create adjustment report populates. And I'm going to be able to put the severance on. So I'm going to go down here and click add. And now in this scenario, I just wanted to show you guys, kind of some different possibilities with doing these adjustments. So let's say for whatever reason, we cut 2 checks, but our file upload or our data that we put in to start with, we only accounted for 2,000, but we accidentally put that as our regular wages. And their regular wages were $1,500, but they had $2,000 in severance. So I just want to show you kind of how we can get that corrected with one adjustment. So here, as you can see, originally we reported $2,000, which really we wanted to have a severance and not our $1,500 of regular worked wages. In order to do this, we're going to actually take off wages from regular wages. That way, our regular wages are represented as to what truly was paid. Again, we're not going to use all these boxes. And then we're going to go straight here to severance, and we're now going to add that $2,000 on as severance. So pretty easy. We're just going to now scroll down, look at our new value, and this is what I wanted it to look like to start with. So to begin with, I wanted to make sure I had $1,500 as the regular wages with the appropriate contributions, and then have our $2,000 as severance. So here, as you can see, those positive and negatives definitely help you out here. That way you can really take away or add on what you need to. Now, if you were to, let's say, put, 1,500 here instead of the -500, as you can see in that new value, it's actually now going to show 3,500. So if you're ever doing a severance adjustment and you're going through, make sure you look at this new value. That way you can see what truly it's going to look like once you process for payment. So we don't want to do that. We just want to show that $1,500 and now put it in, click somewhere else, and we're back to where we want it to be. That's all I needed to do on this one. So I'm going to click validate, go over to my submission reports. And as you can see, I've got my total due of $213. So at the very top, you're going to see here where everything's going to kind of be broken down in terms of how we got to that $213 due. So we have here where we had wages and contributions coming off, but we also have where we're putting things on as severance. So even it out, now we only have the additional $213 due for payment. And we have paid another adjustment. And then I also want to show you here a TURF member. So I'm going to go back to online adjustment, click on our TURF unit, and then next. I'm going to put in my payroll date. I'm going to go back to my My Member for previously submitted information. I'm going to select my member, put in a payroll date range. Create adjustment report. Now here, I wanted to do this to my 6-2. And as you can tell, we originally reported $10,500. Now, part of this was, yes, their regular due wages, but we also had a contract payout and we had severance. So out of this $10,500, we had regular wages of $1,500. We owed them 3 more contracts worth of pay, so $4,500. And then our severance was $4,500 as well. That contract pay is going to be seen as regular worked wages because that would have been due to them during the year anyway as regular worked wages. We're going to leave that alone. We're going to leave it on here. We're not going to move that. So really, we're only going to move $4,500 because that's truly what was the severance payout of that accrued time off. So we're going to go up here to wages, and we're going to do a negative $4,500 because we want to take it off of our wages. We're going to go to our mandatory pre-tax and take off our $135. And we're going to take off our $292.50 of employer contribution share. Now, as you can see here, this is what I needed it to look like in terms of our $1,500 due for that pay period for normal worked wages, our 3 payrolls worth of contract payout that was happening, and now we're going to add the severance. So as you can see, we took it off here as negatives. Now we're just going to do it as a positive. Now let's say that my unit best practice is we go ahead and just pay on the full amount of severance. I'm going to move that over. And then I'm going to go down here to our employer contribution share. So for this, I'm only going to be able to report that 6.5% on the first 2,000. So you'll notice here, I'm not able to put on the full $292.50. I'm only going to be able to put on severance employer contribution share on the first 2,000. So yes, I can move the whole mandatory, and that is typically something that we do suggest. That way we don't cause any issues with the member's account. If you want to try and put 60 on here, if you go to the submission reports and you have an error, give us a call. We're happy to take a look into the account and see what's going on, and if we can truly take that or not. So now here at the bottom, we have what we wanted everything to be to start with and get that severance split out and click Add Adjustment. We'll go to Validate, go back to our submission reports. I'm on my TURF unit and it's validated. So if you remember, we moved the full amount of severance contributions, but we weren't able to move the full employer share. So in terms of the amount due, yes, we were taking off $427.50 worth of contributions, but we're putting back on $265. Money is due back to me as the unit. As a unit, I'm getting back $162.50. In order for this money to truly split and truly move on the member's account and show as the severance, we have to still process for payment. We need to still put a bank account number in here, but for the amount, we're just gonna leave it blank, or you can enter in a 0. Again, it's still gonna make you put that in there. You can put the 0. It will or sometimes will not add, but either way, just make sure it's in there. That way when we click submit for payment, we're not actually paying anything. As you can see, we're gonna get a payment reversal. And now I've got my confirmation showing that I had a payment reversal. When you go to process your next report for payment, regardless of what it is, that $162.50 would be applied to the next payroll. So whether that be an additional adjustment, that be a regular wage and contribution, even if you've got a report that's got some retroactive contributions due, this is all just going to get tied in together. So you would see everything at the time of your next payment where that reversal is going to be applied. So those are the 2 examples here I had for severance adjustments. I'm going to turn it back over to Alicia. She's got just a couple more things to touch on.
Alrighty, so we're almost to the end here. So we've got a couple more slides to go, and then we'll at the end answer any questions still remain. So then one thing we're going to talk about is when you're reporting and needing to make adjustments, one thing that you want to look at is it crossing quarters or is it for a fiscal year? And so in situations when adjustments that cross quarters for PERF or cross fiscal years for TERF, there is a potential for service credit and final average earnings calculation to be incorrect depending on how the adjustments are made in ERM. So for PERF, reported wages applied to a quarter for those final average earnings, or we call FAE, are only based on the pay period end date. So that means the full amount that is reported for a pay period end date is applied only to the quarter the pay period end date falls in. For TERF, the same logic applies as PERF above to the amount the reported is based on the pay period end date, but on fiscal year basis and not quarterly basis like PERF. So how to report. So you have your PERF omitted wages example, and so you have your PERF member was not reported on for 9 months. So example, February 13th through October 19th. We're going to use an annual calendar to set up an adjustment for missed wage and contribution. And then add the single member 4 times to that single report. So what that would look like is you have your first transaction line that will cover the pay period start date of February 13th through March 31st. The second line would be from April 1st through June 30th. The third line is going to be July 1st through September 30th. And the last line is October 1st through October 19th. So again, that is how we're, wanting to kind of catch someone up, for example, as far as 9 months. For TERF omitted wages, if TERF member was not reported for 4 school years with a hire date of August 2nd, 21, and they resigned March 28th of 25. What we're going to do is use an annual calendar to set up that adjustment for missed wage and contribution. Add the single member times for each school year. So we have the first transaction, or that first line, you're going to want the pay period start date be August 2nd of 21 through June 30th of 22. The second transaction line is going to be from July 1st of 22 through June 30th of 23. Because remember, our fiscal year is from July 1 to June 30th of the following year. That third transaction line will be from July 1st of 23 through June 30th of 24. And then the fourth line of transaction will be July 1st of 24 through March 28th of 25. So what we're going to do is Katie's going to go through and give you live examples on what a cross calculation would look like in a fiscal year as well.
All right, so like Alicia said, going to go over just kind of what that would look like. And I know, again, we've gone through quite a few adjustments. This isn't going to be anything super complicated. I know, we can look at our records. Oh my gosh, I forgot to report someone for 9 months or, a couple school years. It's okay. Things happen. We're able to go back in and add those missed wage and contributions. With those, super simple. We're just going to go over here to wage and contribution, online adjustment. And first, I'm going to show, the perfect example, so that the 9 months. Going to, let's just say, use today's date. I'm going to do missed wage and contribution. And then for this one, I do want to use an annual frequency. If you go to do an online adjustment for a period of time larger than what you typically report, or you go to do one and you don't have something listed here with an annual or a quarterly frequency, give us a call. We're more than happy to add something in here for you. That way you can complete these adjustments. Because if not, if you were to click biweekly, then you would be entering in every single pay period on that biweekly basis for that extended period of time, which I don't know about you, but I don't really want to do that. So we're just going to use the annual here. So we've got it in here. We're going to do create adjustment report. We're going to add our member and add selected. Now on that previous slide, we saw that they have not been reported for 9 months, going from February to October. That's technically going to be 4 different transactions. So I'm just going to make sure I'm going one transaction at a time. I'm going to go under modify. For this one, we're going to go from the start of that pay period that we missed. And then we're going to go to the end of that quarter. I'm going to put in the wages. I'm going to put in their contributions. Again, we're not using all these boxes. And we're going to click save. Now we need to do that second transaction to show the next quarter. And we're just going to do the same thing. So, and I like to go in and just do them one member at a time because as you can see, it's a little bit easier to see what periods have I done so far. Add again for that next quarter. And as you can see, it's pretty just same information over and over, but we're going to add in those different pay periods. Now, obviously, you would have your exact figures. You'd have their exact wages, what have you. We just want to make sure that we're getting everything applied appropriately. Right, so we've done those first three, and now we need to just show that last bit from October 1st through October 19th. Using the annual frequency is going to just make sure that we're able to have these transaction lines with those periods of time and not cause any issues. So when we click on this one, I know those others, we've had larger periods of time for that section. For here, it's still perfectly fine. I'm still able to do that last bit and ending it on, say that pay period end date before when we, picked them back up or whatever the situation is, perfectly fine to do. As you can see, our update required no. We've got all 4 transaction lines in here. So once I click validate, I would go over to my submission reports and I'd be able to process for payment. So it would be one single payment, but applying the wages to all 4 separate quarters in one payment transaction. So you've got each quarter as a separate transaction line, but one report to process for payment. And doing it this way is going to ensure that those wages, those lumps get assigned to the appropriate quarter and really just make sure that the final average earning calculations are as accurate as possible. And then we're just going to show one really quick for a turf unit. Great. So again, put in our payroll date. And I know with turf, there have been some rate changes over time. Just understand if you happen to put the wrong rate in there, it's okay. The system, as we all know, loves to give us errors. It will let you know that you've got the wrong percentage. So it's okay. When you go back into process for payment, it's going to let you know. Right, so we've got here that the member in that scenario on the previous slide hired 8/2 of 21 and they resigned 3/28 of 25. So on this one again, 4 different transactions. We're going to start with the data hire. We're going to go to the end of that school year. So they hired in during the 21-22 school year. We're going to go to 6/30 of 22. Not 66. And then at the very bottom, please, please, please make sure when you're doing these that you give the appropriate service days. So you can go in, you can do these adjustments, apply the wages, but just please don't forget at the very bottom to add the service days. By adding those service days, that's how it's going to generate for the service to be applied. So yes, you're applying wages, but we want to make sure we're applying that service. As long as you've got 120 days here, it is going to generate that full year of service. Now, let's say, they worked 154 days. Perfectly fine. You can put in that exact number. If you're not sure, but they were there for the whole year, as long as it's 120 or higher, it will go ahead and apply that full year of service. So I've got that 21-22 school year in. I'm going to go back to add members and add her on again to do the next school year. And now I'm just going to go from 7/1 of 22 to June 30th of 23. Again, we're not using all these boxes. Make sure we get our service credit days on here and move on. Right now we're going to do the 23-24 school year. Again, update required. We're going to click modify. We're going to go to 6/30 of 24. Put in our lump sum of wages and contributions. Put in our service days. And absolutely, if the individuals had FSP, make sure you're putting it in here. It would just be like if you were reporting regular FSP wages and contributions, you just want to make sure you get those broken out down here as well. So it's still an option. You can still do it. Just in this example, we're just going to do straight regular wages. And then for this one, we're going to go from 7/1 of 24 through 3/28 when she terminated. All right, so now that these are in here, once we click validate, not only are we applying the wages to where they need to go, we're also going to be applying that service credit. So if I were to click validate and go to process for payment, again, I'm doing one transaction to process for payment, but I'm able to apply the wages and service credit for all 4 of those school years in one payment, but apply the service days appropriately as well as the wages.
Alrighty, so we are here at the end, but before we go, I do want to let you know that we do have a lot of material out on the website. So today we went over a lot, but we also do have reference guides available to you. So if you go to our in.gov/INPRS and go down to the employer tab and go to employer reporting and maintenance, and click on quick reference guides, you will be able to see all of our lists and everything that we covered, not only today, but many more, or other topics that you may be able to see too. So I do want to let you know that those are available to you. And I'm going to now kick it over here to Floyd.
So thank you, everyone. We're at the conclusion of this webinar. Like I said earlier, this is not going to be the last. We understand that we threw a lot at you today, but a couple of things before we let you go. One of the things is, if today you didn't get your question answered, and then there is something that is more directed at what you're facing, any kind of issues, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we can set up a Microsoft Teams meeting where you can have your team, and then we can have our team here. We can talk through some of the issues and things that you may be facing. The second thing is, these webinars, we can't do this without you. I really appreciate your participation this morning. I know that there's a lot of things that is on your plate. But again, we just want to say thank you for your participation. And then the second thing is, we like seminars, or not seminars, but surveys. So there is a survey that should be up on the screen right now. Please take a picture of that survey. I promise it will take you 1 minute or less to fill that survey out, because this is going to help us with the webinars with more to come. So again, thank you. We can't thank you enough. And we're just going to go ahead and let you go, and go out and make it a great day. Thanks so much.